All right, ladies, we are back for the God-forsaken ending of this here book, Kingdom of the Cursed. I, I see y'all over there laughing, but no, like this was a God-forsaken ending, as we were shortly discussing before I hit record. Um, Cam had to openly curse when she called Mother, and Mother, understanding the source of frustration, just let it happen. So, with that being said, let's get on into this here book. All right. For our first half, chapters 27 through 30, Emilia navigates the increasingly complex politics and passions of the demon realm. In chapter 27, she meets Gluttony, who flirts with her and invites her to a dangerous hunt. Wrath introduces Emilia as his wife, though she hasn't accepted that bond just yet. As tension stirs between the royal houses, Emilia receives a mysterious note inviting her to a secret meeting at dawn. In chapter 28, she discovers a violet horse she names Tansy and sets off riding, feeling flickers of forgotten memories. After crossing a barrier, she's captured and briefly imprisoned by unknown guards. Gluttony warns her about the slumber root she picked, an herb that is feared by demons. In chapter 29, at a masquerade ball, Emilia overhears a clue about the Stars of Seven, a group of fate spinning witches she believes can help her find missing magical artifacts. She considers traveling to the dangerous Bloodwood Forest via Pride's territory. When she asks about the devil, the whole room falls silent. In chapter 30, Wrath wins the hunt, but Pride appears soon after and dances with Emilia. In a private confrontation, Emilia accuses him of being the guard who arrested her. They strike a deal, safe passage through his lands in exchange for her silence about the slumber root she found on his grounds. Envy interrupts, announcing Emilia as the guest of honor. And I did not put this on there because she was the guest of honor. That was the start of the ritual that was to reveal her deepest fear. One thing I also did not mention in this summary, I think, let's see, reducing his wives, tension stirs between royal houses, blah blah blah. Actually, I think that's it. I think that's everything. So, that being said, first impressions. Cam, you first.
Girl, I couldn't have been prouder of my girl, Amelia Maria. She was giving me everything. She didn't grow up, feel like a proud parent out here in these streets. And I don't like nobody in no books.
You
She
don't.
don't, because she finally started doing stuff I would have did. She was making smart bargains, not just saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff. She was thinking it through, which is not something that has been in her character thus far. So I was very appreciative that once we got to this point, like we discussed last week, once we got to this point of her getting to this party, you could see, even though it happened in like a split second, you could see her character development, and you can further see it moving through these couple of chapters, because she's, although not physically maturing at this moment, she's mentally maturing, and she's thinking things through, talking things out with herself before she is moving forward. Like what they say, you think before you speak. That's, she's finally starting to do that. So I'm very excited about that. All these brothers though, they getting on my nerves. The brothers are getting on my nerves more than she has ever got on my nerves. Because it's given we got a little PP syndrome out here. That's just how it feels. Especially envy. Especially envy. Like, bro, your whole sin is being jealous of people, and your sin is showing real bad. Real extra bad. Like, you pissing me off. So yeah, it was a lot of moving parts to this first half, but it was very well written in my opinion. And with that, I yield.
Well said, Cam. Glenna, are you able to share your first impressions just yet?
Um, my first impressions were basically, well, I agree with Cam. She's definitely grown up. I definitely think she's making smart decisions. Um, I think she could have been a little more cautious during the morning right before her run in Gluttony's house. I think she needed to be a little more aware of her surroundings. She might not have passed into another realm, but it also benefited her in in the end time to do that anyway. So it, I really didn't have a whole lot of notes for the first half. I agree with Cam that the brothers are starting to be a little trying. Although my irritation, I was expecting Envy to be the way Envy was. My trying point was Gluttony. He's being a little extra, if you would. But yeah, I really enjoyed this section. So, and with that, I yield.
Thank you, Glenna. Mother, your thoughts.
Well, I just want to say I'm so excited that Cammy is finally a proud mama and had a proud mama moment. But in the course of this section, as we've all have come to know, that the girl has gotten a little wiser about her thought processes. I was really appreciative of Carrie's ability to not only remain as detailed as she is about everything in terms of what she's seeing, what she's hearing, what she's feeling. She gives me the feel of being in the room, which particularly was important, or not necessarily important, but it was particularly really enlightening during the feast. Because I mean, okay, it's one thing y'all got the fire and ice thing going, but for her to be as detailed about the craftsmanship of the chef, baby, I'm sitting here going, where can I get one of those? When can I get one of those? I also like how she was dropping subtle hints about, feeling her vibes when she went out on the hunt and ended up going a different way. Even in the midst of being captured, she's paying attention and giving small minute details that actually mean something later down the road. And I like how she's kept that consistency throughout this writing. So I was really enlightened. But baby, when we got to that feast, I was like, you better come on, girl, and make me hungry. I want to find a 5-star chef in the midst of us dealing with all these demons. The other thing I would say, and I'm going to piggyback off what Glenna said, I think a couple sections back, where I did not realize how intensely the sins almost overlap one another. Where lust and envy and greed, and gluttony all play a very big part in each other's sin, and it's in more than one realm that you can experience a multitude of those sins in within each other. And I was like, I mean, this book has given me a whole new insight on the sins. I'm gonna say that, and how what we traditionally learned to be gluttonous or envious or wrath and all this other stuff, baby, it sheds a whole new light on our emotions and how we need to check ourselves. That's all. Ooh, girl, I had to pray. I had to pray. And with that, I yield.
You got me feeling emotions. Yes. Thank
Deeper
you.
than I ever dreamed of.
Thank you, Cowgirl Carter, for that assessment. So appreciate it. That said, my first impression is, so when she's at the dinner and she asks about the devil and everybody on mute, that told me some things, but we gonna get into it. we're gonna talk about it. Because nobody got nothing to say. Like, she's speaking Greek. She just asked a question and everybody just,
Nobody. No, sorry.
nobody. Who can answer the question? Nobody. Like, okay. All right, y'all. When Gluttony persistently encouraged her to join the hunt, that also told me some things. Because, like, what's in it for you? Why do you need her to join the hunt if she already told you she don't ride? Then you gonna tell him you don't ride, but you magically see Tansy and you out here riding. That told me something else, and I was like, some pieces are coming together. The 7 stars or the 7 sisters, I thought that was high time that we learn about them, because that was part of the riddle of one of the skulls that she got a message in. And I was like, okay, well, now that's starting to make sense. 7 sins, we know that's the princes. 7 stars, okay, now we know that these are the sisters. I see your hand, Mom. Give me just a second. And yes, I agree with both you and Cam that she is using her logic and her decision making. She actually used the slumber route she discovered to her advantage. I was so proud to see that. And so proud that she confronted pride when she realized he was the prince who imprisoned her. Mom, you have a hand raised.
Excuse me. What I was going to say when you talked about Gluttony encouraging her and almost in persistence of her going on that hunt, did you pay close attention to how he said when she told him, I don't ride, but she said she would change her mind and go. Amelia reminds him he didn't ride, but he informs her that sometimes our bodies recall what our minds do not.
Clock it. Clock it.
So what you really saying is, and keep in mind, she already having these visions that she don't know if they dreams or visions. Okay, so somebody it's like he's trying to let her know you've been here before. I just need you to remember. And that's what it brought me back to those things, those other images she kept having, and those while she was questioning herself. When he made that statement, and then she went to the stables and was able to get up there and ride, because clearly her body remembered what her mind could not. I said, okay. That's all I wanted to share.
Like I said, this whole part, this whole first half definitely revealed some things I was thinking, and I was like, That being said, ladies, let's move into these questions I have for you. Hidden truths and leverage, power and identity, mysterious alliances, memory and magic, moral ambiguity, and taboo and silence. Mom, why don't you go first?
All righty then. Well, since we just talked about it, let's go with memory and magic.
Memories and magic. Emilia feels deja vu while riding Tansy and encountering familiar landscapes. How might memory loss or suppressed memories be playing a role in her journey?
Well, like we said, we all realize that, well, that we know for certain they are playing a role in her journey because of the lack of her memory. She is trying to learn. Well, she's trying to learn something, and she is being triggered because of things that are happening to give her an insight that she may have been here before. She doesn't believe it, and she's questioning it. But the closer she gets to the answer she's looking for, the more insight she's getting into the more deja vu moments that are happening, the more inferences of you've experienced this and just don't remember. And so she is trying to stay open-minded, but she does realize that there is a connection and she's not quite sure how it's going to play out. And I think that's what she's fearful of, because she does want answers, but she's not quite sure right now where them answers are going to lead her, because she's getting so many inferences and triggers of, I've been here before, have I experienced this already? Yeah, and it was just, I mean, it was just easy. Her getting back on that horse was a little bit too easy. And she even said on the ride that, hey, oh, wait, something is pulling me to go this way. Yeah. And it wasn't just magic, it was memory. So I'm curious as to how or what is going to be revealed. Muscle memory. Okay, Cam. Yeah, that muscle memory. Yeah,
Oh, you
I
gotta
know
say it
it's
like
going to
I
come
typed
out.
it.
Hold
Huh?
on, say that again.
Gotta say it like I typed it. Muscle memory.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Muscle memory. The beauty of that is, I really feel like when she gets the answers she looking for, it's gonna cause a whole nother situationship to occur. So keep reading.
Keep on reading on. Yes,
Hmm.
agree more. Couldn't
And
agree more.
with that, I yield.
Thank you, mother. Uh, oh man, I did something wrong. Boo! I did something wrong in this whole presentation. Hang on, y'all. Um, okay. Cam, pick your poison, ma'am.
Power and identity.
Power and identity. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Emilia insists she hasn't accepted the marriage bond with Wrath. How does this moment reflect her struggle for autonomy in a world that constantly tries to define her?
Yeah, this is where she gets on my nerves. I don't really feel like she has a struggle with autonomy, because this entire time, Wrath has freely given her a choice. So she's gotten to make her own choices this entire time. What Emilia has is an existential crisis. She don't know what she wants, and it's the problem. So yes, the world is trying to define her, but I don't think it's in a literal sense. I feel like the world is more trying to get her to see what she doesn't remember about herself, because she hasn't lost any autonomy here. And if we're gonna be very honest, they didn't all but done everything except the thing, because everybody's mouth has been in places where it didn't have to be. So we don't look at me like that. Just saying. When we got up here, some things have happened. Okay. And she was real sure about herself in those moments. So it's really given, what are we waiting on? Because you've lost no bodily autonomy, you've lost no mental autonomy, you've maintained all independence that you came in with, because this man has freely given you a choice. The thing that you don't understand now is, while you feel like everybody's trying to get you to be this thing, what it really is that everybody is trying to get you to see what you don't see in yourself, for whatever reason that may be. So yeah, I yield.
I agree wholeheartedly. Like they really trying. Like, why can't you see? Why can't you see, girl? I think I did this on all of them. I'm so sorry, y'all. This irks. I didn't put the wrong backlink. I was so excited to be done with this. Okay, Glenda, please pick your poison. Oh, one second. Okay, so I will pick. I'm gonna pick. I think I'm gonna do taboo and silence. When Amelia asks about the devil and the room goes silent, what does this suggest about the power dynamics or secrets within the demon courts? So for me, this lets me know, kind of like how in Beauty and the Beast, the curse was on the beast, but everybody else in the castle was also subject to the curse as well. It lets me believe that whatever curse is preventing Wrath from sharing certain information with her, everybody else at the table or in the court is also somehow affected by that curse. Because I can't see no other reason why nobody, Fauna, Anir, or anybody could have been like, girl, he right there. He's sitting right next to you. Like, and it could have been just as easy as that. Unless they are affected in some way by the same curse that is affecting them princes. I see your hand raised, Mother. Mother, come on off mute. I saw. Oh, never mind. Okay. Damn.
Is it possible that they looked at her and went silent because they was like, dude, why would we say who it is when you came in with them? They're like, why would you ask that question? You with him. And
What
everybody like, duh, is she that slow?
you thought they was giving her the Gen Z stare? Like,
Yeah, it was like you know. Cause I'm like, it's like, and it could be the other one, but I was like, they sitting here go, that's one of them like, did she really just ask that damn question? And she walked in with her? What, is she slow? And and here's the other thing. You don't know if she asked that to see what their response will be.
bingo. Bingo.
Cause she just want to know if somebody just gonna be bold enough and come out and say it. You know what I'm saying? So I just
And I have a theory now, but I can't reveal it just yet because we haven't talked about some things.
okay, but go ahead. But that's what I was saying. I mean, it was one or two things. It was like they all turned to her like, "What the fuck?" You know? Or oops, see, dang it, I'm sorry. This is why. Anyway, but just the thought of you saying that and everybody's mouth drop and it get dead silent, because they can't say nothing about the elephant in the room. It's like you sitting right next to them. You good. It was like the king got a slow one, y'all.
It could have been that. They could have been thinking she was a little, on the spectrum, but also they could have been in disbelief as well.
Is why she even opened her mouth make that statement.
Yeah, like
And
it could have been
yeah,
shock.
on the flip of it could have been also that she did that just to see what the response would be, knowing how secretive they all are. But those are those are the two things I wanted to share. I thought I just had that moment where everybody's face turned and they jaw dropped like, what? Did you actually go there? That's what I thought of. But anyway,
Here,
I did.
Cam, you had a hand raised.
I was kind of thinking of like the caveat to what you said, and maybe what if nobody said anything, because not necessarily because of a curse, but because he's requested that they don't. It's kind of like an unspoken, we ain't gotta talk about it, like it is what it is, we ain't gotta talk about it type thing. Because from what I've gathered, although he has the most power, he's like the least power hungry of all his brothers.
Which makes sense when you got it like that. You don't need to talk too loud about it because you already got it. You know, insecurity is loud, as the people say.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, even though he has all the power, he's also not one that seems like, well, I'm gonna fight you to the death to maintain said power. Cause like the way he talks about it is like, if I got it, I got it. If I don't, I don't. But he's not like trying to act like he's something that he's not, like some of his other brothers are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, especially from his people, if it's more of a, let me just be here and it is what it is, and if we don't got to talk about it, we don't got to talk about it type thing.
Okay, I like that input. Thank you for that, Cam. I don't see Glenna, so I'm assuming she is with. Okay, 1 second on Glenna. In the meantime, in between time, y'all, I'm just curious. What do you think? Oh, never mind. She's back. Go ahead, come off mute, Glenna.
Which ones have been answered?
Memory and magic, power and identity, and taboo and silence.
Mysterious alliances.
Mysterious alliances. Why do you think Gluttony is so persistent in encouraging Amelia to join the hunt? What could his motives be, and how does his behavior differ from Wrath's?
I think this might be a hot take, but they say that the Gluttony and Sloth are kind of nowhere near contenders for any kind of power. So they can pretty much do whatever they want to do without any repercussions because they're never going to fight their way up the ladder.
Mm.
So who's to say that Gluttony, I mean, we automatically assume that the brothers all hate each other. Or what's to say they're not? What's to say Gluttony and Wrath have an alliance of sorts, or Gluttony actually likes his brother Wrath because Wrath is what keeps them protected. So I think his motives could be he's just screwing with her. It could be he doesn't want ill things to occur in his realm, therefore he's, going to be nice about certain things. I think his motivations could simply be he could have an alliance with Wrath. There could be many different things with regard to that. As far as why he's so persistent in encouraging Amelia to join the hunt, there's no way to have predicted what would happen with her on the horse unless he has seer traits that we're unaware of. So we didn't know that she was going to get such beneficial things, but she's the guest of honor. Who wants their guest of honor to be sitting around moping around the castle when they could be out doing something fun? So I honestly think her encouraging her to join the hunt was simply so that she could have some fun.
Okay, I like that.
And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Glenna, for that assessment. Ladies, any final thoughts on this first half? Okay, I don't see no hands raised. So I'm assuming we all Gucci about this. Moving into the last and final half of this here book. Who child? All right. So as Amelia is about to face her greatest fear at the Feast of the Wolf, Wrath intervenes, offering a secret of the heart as a substitute. Pride complicates things by suggesting Amelia sleep with someone as a show of forbidden tryst, and Wrath reluctantly agrees to a private tryst. In his royal suite, Wrath reassures Amelia she's under no pressure, but Amelia stands firm in her choice, and they share an intimate moment. Later, Amelia drugs Wrath with the slumber root, by the way, and sneaks away and meets the crone at the cursed Bloodwood Forest. She bargains for information about her sister's murder and the mirror, agreeing to a future favor. The crone reveals Amelia must face truths about herself and carves Wrath's true name, Samuel, into the curse tree, confirming he is actually the devil and a fallen angel. Amelia confronts him and he disappears after she questions whether any of it was real, it being their romantic connection. Still reeling, Amelia finds the temptation key hidden in Wrath's chambers and uses it to access the Triple Moon Mirror. There, in the Sin Corridor, is where this happens. There, the crone, revealed to be Celestia, returns Amelia's magic and asks for her spellbook in return. When Amelia activates the mirror, it reveals that her sister Victoria is alive and conspiring with Antonio, the man Amelia believed had killed her. Furious and hurt by the deception, Amelia heads back to Wrath with vengeance on her mind. She begins unleashing her magic and questions everything, whether she's the first witch, whether the amulets were suppressing her power, and how long Wrath has known the truth. Bound by the curse, Wrath can't answer until Amelia decides to accept the marriage bond, both to break the curse and assert her choice. The two finally commit to one another fully, even amidst the chaos of betrayal and unfolding revelations. First impressions, y'all. Glenna, first impressions, please. Come on off mute.
I had a "are you kidding me" moment about 3 separate times. The crone identity I'd figured out. The revelation that he was Lucifer? You got to be freaking kidding me. I mean, there's some aspects of it that make sense. But yeah, I just sat there and stared at the book for a good 15 minutes, not gonna lie.
Okay, so I'm not the only one. Great.
Yeah, no. You are most decidedly not the only one. But yeah, just shock, pure shock, nothing more than shock. We're here for the shock. But yeah, and with that, I yield.
Thank you for that. Cam, I can't read this chat. Go ahead and share your first impressions and the chat. Go on, whatever you saying.
Oh, that was when I called and cussed that mom for 5 minutes straight.
Which part?
The him being Lucifer part. Because I was taking my hair down, I dropped the comb, dropped the braid, picked up the phone, and immediately dialed 314 ... I had so many feelings in this last section. Yeah, I had a lot of feelings, and Victoria was not on my bingo card. At least not that way. Not in that way. To know that she was conspiring with Antonio, that hurt my feelings and pissed me off. I was hurt for her sister. I was hurt for Amelia. But I was pissed off for all the other reasons you could possibly be pissed off at the situation. Because Amelia has essentially given up her life, literally, in search of vengeance for her, and she out here doing not great things. So I was hurt there. Now the whole Wrath being Lucifer situation, also not on my bingo card. Because up until that point, I was still very convinced that, especially because of how often it was referred to, that the actual devil was Pride. But that also kind of brought me back to our map again, and how we talked about the sizes of the homes in the pictures equated to power, and how his was the biggest and Pride's was the second biggest. And I was like, okay, so I was right. I don't know if in this particular instance I like being right, because I really wanted the devil to be a separate entity aside from these 7. I really was just hoping and praying that there was like a long lost 8th brother, especially because earlier in the book, when they were walking through, I believe it was Envy's little museum or whatever, he said something about an 8th brother. So I was hoping that that 8th brother was the devil instead of it being Wrath, which is why it was so shocking to me.
Same.
Yeah. And then this last part about them accepting the marriage bond, I was just like, y'all, we at the end of the book. I needed this like 10 chapters ago. But I am happy that Amelia got to the place of the acceptance, and it took for her to throw out her feelings about her sister and focus on herself that got her there, because she spent this entire book worried about Victoria and how to avenge Victoria, and I feel like not one time did she take consideration for herself. And at that moment, when she got past the excitement of Victoria being alive and the hurt and the fury and the rage came in, is when she was like, okay, you know what? No, let me stop denying myself this thing that I very clearly want, and let's go have this conversation. So I was happy that she finally got there. I just wasn't happy at how long it took for her to get there. So I yield.
Tim's across the board on that assessment. Yeah. I also was hoping that the devil was whoever ruled the 8th circle of hell, but here we are. Mother, your first impressions, please.
I was tickled when your sister called me cousin. I'm just gonna say she was what they call big mad. Me personally, I wasn't shocked that he was the devil because it had been spoken before. The devil is the one who that name had been used in terms of who's ruling on earth at the time. However, given the information at the very beginning of this journey, when Cam showed us the houses, it would make sense that the supreme ruler would have the biggest portion of the land. It's almost a given. So if anybody that's going out there getting this book, reading this, please get the hard back cover so that you will have the said map. And a lot of times when they're traveling throughout these realms, you have a visual to help you along your journey. But also, now, I wasn't shocked at that. I wasn't shocked at, and I'm with Cam that Victoria being alive was not on my radar. But her final conceding with Wrath was. I think for me, I was more infuriated with the fact that she was very very willy-nilly about the whole situation. Was like, oh yeah, sister, let me tell you this. And I'm like, girl, huh? You know your sister. And it was almost like she was conspiring to get her sister to make that. She is like, to me, Victoria plotted the whole thing. so that her sister could go on the warpath looking for her. Now, whether or not she believed that her sister would submit herself the way she did in search of vengeance for her, I'm not sure. But she had a whole agenda planned, and nowhere in her agenda did she make her sister be known to it because she had, well, outside of plotting with Antonio, we know she has a whole agenda plan. We don't know said agenda, and we'll need to get the third book to figure it out. But again, I know we're taking a break from this series, but like you all, I felt bad for Amelia. I'm curious though as to what was Victoria really trying to do other than gain back whatever she believed the witch culture lost with this curse, or with whatever this separation with witches and shapeshifters and demons and all of this battle amongst the realms is going on, because that's not because literally that's what it is. The whole purpose in them, or the foretelling of their life, of the witch's story, was that witches will be born that will level out the heavens and the sin realm and all this other stuff. So their birth was supposed to put things back into balance that was out of balance. And so I think once Victoria learned some of that stuff, I see your hand, Cam. Once Victoria learned some of the things she learned, and clearly she got her hands on some dark magic. She dealt into that world without letting her sister know, and she used Antonio as her backup, I would say, so that she could plot, she could conceal and do everything she was trying to get accomplished. I feel for Amelia in that, because she was totally unaware and she thought their sister bond was greater than what it actually was, being that they were twins. So yeah, I felt sorry for her, but I also feel victorious for her, because in the midst of all of this chaos, she has made peace with her own personal desires. And even though she still loves her sister and is angry, she's decided, I'm going to take a little piece of satisfaction for myself. And she's looking to get what she desired. So I kind of felt relieved. I was tickled at Cam's response to everything, but I was kind of relieved that she made her decision in the end for herself, since she spent so much time and energy on a sibling that did not give her that same courtesy. And with that, I yield.
Cam, you had a hand raised.
I did, but I just realized that my thought is better saved for the theories portion at the end. So I'm going to save it.
Okay. Has everybody shared their first impressions? Okay, so I'm going to give my first impressions. First of all, who is Samuel? And I say this because on page 402, if you have your Bibles, page 402, at the very, very bottom, Amelia says, when you brushed off the name I'd called you in the monastery, I wondered if there was a reason why you didn't react more strongly. I swiped at my eyes, still not looking at him. You acted as if it meant nothing, that I simply irked you. Because according to Nona, a prince of hell will never reveal their true name to their enemies. So I say to myself said, and we went back to the first book. So when she first met this man in the monastery, and nowhere in there was the name Samuel written Anyways, so now I'm trying to figure out who the hell and how the hell did you know to write that name in the curse tree? Somebody tell me if y'all got any theories. But besides that, Celestia is the crone. I did not expect that, but it makes sense. I figured out that Wrath was the devil when didn't nobody say nothing at dinner. Because like I said, nobody gonna say nothing. Y'all just gonna let pins drop. So I'm like, of course, he's got to already be there. It was a bit of a surprise though to know that his wings were the amulets, the cornicellos that the girls were wearing this entire time. And I'm not it would not be difficult to believe now that those very same cornicellos were being placed on them to suppress their power. It's also interesting to me to find that this whole hullabaloo she been up in arms about on whether or not to accept this marriage bond, and that's the very thing that's gonna break this curse. It's giving Beauty and the Beast. It's giving, she has to fall in love organically and kiss the man so that the curse can be broken. And yeah. The Seven Sisters. Why is you here? Like, I'm sitting here wondering, what was y'all's purpose for being in this room other than being the keepers of the triple moon mirror? Because Celestia did all the talking. Y'all ain't had no other wisdom to give, nothing. And then when Amelia's power was fully unleashed, it felt like Wrath was just like not trying to calm her down, but kind of placating her. He's like, okay, feelings aren't facts. Okay, Amelia. like you scared? Should you be scared? Yeah, that's all I got for first impressions. I'm so done. But anywho, as far as discussion topics, I have for you Wrath versus Pride, Trust and Deception, True Identity and Power, Victoria's Revelation, Choice and Free Will, and the Role of the Crone. Glenna, are you able to pick a question? Okay. Mother, are you able to pick a question? Come forth.
Okay, hold on just a second.
Because I see you over there cracking up at me.
Girl, I'm laughing at the girl. I am. I'm really using. I think what got me was the Seven Sisters. He was like, "What is y'all role?" Other than to be a, y'all ain't done. Y'all ain't said nothing. Y'all ain't done nothing.
I mean, really, y'all just here. So I just want to know, why is you here?
So it's 7 of y'all. What y'all doing? What's the
Really?
purpose of it being 7 of y'all for real?
Because y'all could just have Celestia come up in here with this mirror and we could have let it be that. Y'all just standing here in these cloaks looking like the KKK, not doing nothing. And the daggone thing.
Y'all, this is just, I don't know who's funny. You or Cam?
What question would you like, Mother? Cam,
go ahead, raise your hand, baby. Go ahead.
Real quick, I just found where she called him Samael in the first book.
Please tell me.
Where?
It's not in the monastery. It's in chapter 24. Actually, it might be in the monastery. When Antonia, it doesn't have a page number. It just says the chapter. But it was when she was with Wrath and ran into Antonio. And he was like, "Who is this?" And she said, "My friend Samael is visiting and we wanted to light a candle for Victoria."
Uh,
I
uh,
thought she just made that up.
that's what I thought too. But
Yeah.
if she has some suppressed memories, why she picked that name? Because you already know that man by that name already. That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's when she was like, I was wondering why you didn't say anything when I said that. So that's when it was.
Okay, chapter 26,
24.
24. Got it.
Yeah, I went on that quick hunt for you real quick.
Show appreciate it because I'm sitting here scratching my head like, I saw him taste the blood. I saw her scream no. I ain't saw nothing in that chapter about Samuel.
It was when they lit the candle for
But
Victoria.
that's why I thought it was just she made up a name. I didn't even think about that.
Well, in her mind, she did make up a name, but that could have been her suppressed memory talking.
Mm-hmm.
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 Okay, you can continue. I just wanted to let you know that before we continue. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on before we get too far because I'm on page 190. What do you say? Wrath leaned against the altar and stared at me, one brow arched. It was one of the most human expressions I'd seen him wear. Samael, really? That was the best name you could come up with? She says, he was a prince of Rome and an angel of death. I'd say that sounds pretty fitting. You're more than welcome to tell me your real name. Then you won't have to get your undergarments twisted about the ones I make up. He strode over to me, stopping at almost a decent space. Do not ever call me that again. I'm no angel witch. Never make that mistake. And then she says, you don't say. And here I was under the impression most humans considered Samael the devil. Mother, ask the question you want, girl. Now I'm
Trust and deception. I don't know. I was torn between that and the Chrome.
which
Uh,
do, do.
well, let's talk about it. Trust and deception. Amelia knowingly drugs Raph to pursue her goals. Later, she finds out he's been hiding his identity and key truths. How do these layers of deception impact your perception of their relationship? Is either justified? Okay, well, let's go here. Come
Oh,
on,
you
princess.
got the slideshow pulled up on your end?
Girl, yeah.
Oh, well, tell me something new here. Excuse me.
You put it in the email, so I'm gonna read. Hello.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, so my thoughts, just like you read what you read. Well, number one, Granny already told Amelia, demons are not gonna let y'all. They're not gonna let their enemies know who they are. That's number one. So he's not going to let you know who he is. And then let's be real. I'm pretty sure that goes against a portion of that curse in keeping him from revealing certain things. He can't reveal who he really is because that will alter her perception and her and possibly her choice in whether or not she chooses him. And she has to choose from her own free will. And that's why he's like, no, you have to have your own free will about whether or not you want to be with me or one of the other houses or whatever. So her knowing exactly who he is, I mean, she can believe what she wants to believe, but it's not for him to tell her, it's for her to come to the knowledge of, because like she was told, demons don't tell their enemies who they really are. They're not going to release that information. So she can't truly trust him because of that. Is that deception? Yeah, but it's within the I believe it's within the confines of that curse that they were under. Now in terms of Amelia drugging him to pursue her goals, that deception, because she seduced the heck out of that brother. She knew all the right things to do. And I'm so proud she finally used her womanly wiles for her benefit and not just a tantrum. But I mean, So she was deceitful in what she did, but I like how she did repent to him later and say, "Hey, I'm sorry. It wasn't about you." Even though he was feeling some kind of way, this was really about getting something, and I didn't want you to be subject to uh in other words, I needed to do this without your interference.
Mhm.
So the best way I figure I could do it is to make sure you were not available and around, because she knows he can sense wherever she is, wherever she go, whatever she do, but when he sleep he can't do all that. So that was the only way she felt like she could truly go and do what she needed to do without him being aware and interceding. um but now the flip side is that in her doing all that, she finds out that he truly has kept his identity and certain realities from her. And that in a turn is a little painful for her, but I think it shouldn't be, because let's be real. He told you when you was above and not in hell that he couldn't tell you certain things. Let's be real. So in that instance, he's been upfront with you. He's told you, I can't tell you stuff. There's certain things I can't tell you. And he's never going to be able to until she chooses. She would have to choose him in order for him to be open with her. And I don't think as the devil, he gonna completely be open to nobody for real. But he would be more open with her if she chose him. And because she's choosing not to choose him, he's very limited in what he's able to share. But now that doesn't stop him in still being protective of her. Now, was she justified in drugging him to keep him from interfering? She could have asked him not to interfere and then found out whether or not he'd be willing to not interfere, or without drugging him, just assuming. I'm not gonna say it was justified, but I don't think it also wasn't justified, because she cannot trust that he will always give her what she needs. She felt like she had to do it on her own. And mind you, we're at a place where she's finally starting to gain a little wisdom about her actions. So in this particular course of action, she felt like the best method to do it without his interceding or impact would be to make sure he could not locate her and he could not intervene. In that particular case, the drugging was justified because she came back and she was willing to tell him why she did it. And he wasn't mad at her because she was upfront with him, and he knew that. He knew she wasn't lying about it. Now, when we talk about the layers of deception, like I said, their relationship is going to be that way until they complete that marriage bond. That's the way I feel. I feel like until they complete the marriage bond, there's going to be a lot of stuff he keeps secret, and they're still in a husband and wife relationship. Some things stay secret anyway, and you'll never have total. You'll never not totally share everything, but you'll share most stuff. But in this particular case, that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You just gotta cross your fingers and hold on and pray that he get a little more into letting her in. I think it was ironic though that she finds that he was an angel, considering how he spoke so heavily against it in the first book, that I'm no angel and this, that, and the other thing. When actually, yes, you was. You was an angel. You lied. And you tell about some, I'm no angel. You wasn't no angel because you had so much wrath that you got your little butt kicked out of heaven. We talked about that because baby, that took me back to my lessons in the Christian lessons where I'm like, okay, so then I wondered, so is you Lucifer devil? Because he was the musician that got kicked out. That sent me into a whole nother tangent, but I ain't gonna get on that. But I'm just saying. So technically, she walking around with your wings. You got two wings, Okay, so I'm break off in something else. But anyway. But so it makes you go back to the first book like Cammy did. Thank you so much for that, Cam. And I really appreciate having that information. All of that plays into the fact that as the devil, you can't release information. You're not always going to be upfront and honest, which is something we learned years ago. But we never knew about the devil having no wife either. So that's a whole nother thing. But in this particular case, why would you trust a demon? She does, because she's taking his mind, and she feels some kind of way. But again, I really don't think there's ever going to be a moment where he's 100 in anything he shares with her. Cameron, you got a hand raised. Go ahead.
Y'all know me. I like to research things.
Mm-hmm.
And I have looked into this Samael character.
Mm-hmm.
He is an angel.
Yeah.
He's an archangel.
Mm-hmm.
So I had never heard of him prior to this. It's because he is an archangel of Hebrew origin. So he's more commonly referred to in the Jewish religion.
Okay.
And so his name means severity of God or venom of God.
Mm.
And then he is most often depicted as an equal to Satan.
Okay.
So
that must be where that eighth brother concept came in.
It's possible. So he's linked to being an accuser, a seducer, and a destroyer. And then he is most common in reference to punishment and judgment.
Well, that's exactly who he is, the king of the Prince of War. All of that is in line with his character in both of these books. So
he's also not named in any Bible.
He is not. He is not one of the named in the Bible. That's why I said it makes you wonder, because even though we learned archangel, there were angels that kicked out of heaven, it only talks about certain angels. But again, depending on what you're reading, you learn something new every day.
This just makes me want to do a deep dive into angelic history lore across all the religions, across the Kabbalah, across the Greco-Roman, because I hear tell certain names like Azazel, Lilith, Naama, like all these names of entities, whether or not they are good or evil is neither here nor there. It's the interpretation that of what
the name
is talking about them that makes me want to dig a little deeper. So I could see myself getting into a whole theological rabbit hole here just based off this little book that was supposed to be fun, but now
got historical.
Researching and making footnotes and cliff notes, and
she didn't turn book club into Bible study. Look at
sound a little offended by that.
Ian could probably make some recommendations on references for you.
Please, pretty please, and thank you.
Text me that, and I will remember to ask him when I get home.
Okay.
Yeah. But with that, like I said, I don't think as a demon or as a devil or whichever term we want to give him right now, I don't think he'll ever be completely honest. because that's not necessarily in his nature. But when it comes to his dealings with her, he will be more open with her than anyone, even more so when she accepts and fully commits to their bond, their marriage bond. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Mother. Glenna, have you gone yet?
No, I have not.
Okay. Feel free to pick a question, ma'am.
I would like the role of the crone.
The role of the crone. All right. The crone, also celestial, go figure, manipulates events from behind the scenes, trading secrets and magic. Do you see her as a villain, mentor, or something in between? And what might her true motivations be?
My vision of her is she's somewhere in between.
Okay.
Um, I don't see her as a villain because if the crone is a deity of a kind, then most deities of those kind are neutral. They're neither good nor bad. They exist in a realm of either order or chaos, depending on what they're working with. And she helps and assists both him and her and other people as well. So I think that she's not necessarily a villain, but she's not necessarily going to spoon feed her information either. She gives her just enough information to get her on the right path and then lets her run amok. Because she could have told her exactly where to go. And I'm not 100% convinced that the skulls were coming from her, but I think they were. Especially because she casually mentions how there was a skull in her rooms when she went there to confront her. So I think they sound like Victoria to her because Victoria is then her source of focus. I think to someone else, the skulls might sound different. I don't necessarily think it's her voice. I think it's the perception of her voice because that's where her focus has been. So, as far as what are her true motivations, that I'm not 100% positive. I still think she's searching for something, and it might be just simply to get her book back, but it might be something else. And I don't think we've been given enough information to truly make a decision on what her motivations are. I think she's not necessarily malicious. She's trading in favors, but that's pretty much par for the course with the gods of history. So I don't think it's necessarily what she can get out of it. I just think it's cause and effect at this point with the crone. I think that will develop a little more in the next book. But yeah, I kind of figured that either Celestia was either, I knew she had to be one of the three. She was either the crone or the mother.
Mhm.
I just didn't know which one. And I do find it kind of surprising that she's the crone because she was talking about a child, if I remember correctly, in the last book, and that made me think that it was the other.
Mm.
But nobody ever mentions whether or not the crone has children or not, so it's not necessarily indicative of that. So it's interesting. It was an interesting development. It wasn't one I was expecting, but it's one that made sense once it happened. Yes, Cam.
I could be thinking so far left here,
Okay.
but is it possible that the skulls have been Victoria playing in her sister's face all this time? Because when Amelia showed up to the thing after she saw Victoria in the mirror, when she showed up, there was another skull there, even though Victoria was no longer there. And then it gave her a message in Victoria's voice.
Oh, I forgot. I forgot about that message.
Yeah, because once we got there, I was like, so has she been up and through this whole time?
That
Playing
is
her face?
that is something that Amelia did say. Like, she could have just came up in my room and talked to me, but you've been leaving skulls. You've been just
I
living.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Very good point, because I forgot about that, which would make the skulls have nothing to do with the crone, even though she had one, which makes me wonder why she had one.
That is a
What
very
if they in cahoots?
That's a possibility, definitely.
That would make me even more mad. But that is a possibility.
Not gonna lie, I'm right there with you on that. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting development. I don't think we have enough information at this time to make any judgments or anything of that nature with the crone, because it was kind of thrown in there at the very end. If it had been a development as some, more chapters earlier and we'd gotten a little more interaction, I think that would have been a nice thought, but I think it's probably going to take up a good portion of the top of the book of the next one, so possibly. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Glenna. Cam, pick your question, ma'am.
You look so over this. This is
I am.
hilarious.
Over this book, I'm over these characters. I'm over. Pick your question.
What question? Okay, Wrath versus Pride.
Wrath versus Pride. Wrath steps in to protect Amelia during the feast, but Pride nearly derails the moment with his own proposal. What does this power struggle between the brothers say about their roles in the hierarchy of sin and their intentions toward Amelia?
Girl, because Pride is an organ, is what he is.
He's a butt.
An organ.
He's a butt. He's a big
dick.
butt.
So this kind of rolls back to what I was talking about when we got brothers trying to act bigger than they actually are. And why I said Wrath seems to be the least power hungry, or like the least concerned with maintaining his power. Because honestly, had it not come to matters of Amelia, like when it comes to matters of his own self, he seems kind of very nonchalant about it. But the second somebody involves Amelia, he's like losing it. And this moment was no different. Because Pride was like, oh, you can do it all out here in the open, all the things. And he's like, or not. We could do it this way. And then I noticed every time Amelia was like, well, what about your brother's doing this and breaking tradition? And he like, my brothers ain't gonna do nothing to me. And I'm like, you're just so sure about yourself. Of course, that is all before we learn that he is the big kahuna. All of that takes place beforehand. But this kind of seems like a typical royal family to me, at least like in historic terms, because we got all these royal families, and there's been a great number of instances where the youngest sibling tries to stage a coup to get power from the oldest sibling, or a family member kills a family member over here so that they are next in line for the throne. It just very much so feels like a medieval kingdom where the one brother is so power hungry that he just keeps testing it to see how far he can get. And I feel like if he keep on, one of these days he for real gonna get hurt. Like Raph just gonna be tired of talking. So that's that's where I stand on that. Now, as far as their sins are concerned, I was really trying to piece together when they were talking about the fact that the devil is based on which sin is most prevalent, like in the above world. That kind of, well, I laughed because they was talking about how envy ain't never been the devil, and he just got upset when that was said. But I was really trying to think, like, in all the time we spent, at least book wise, in the above world, at what point wrath was the overarching sin. And I kind of, it kind of didn't stick for me in terms of what wrath means to me. But when you really look at it, like, Antonio had wrath against witches because of what happened to his mama. Like, there was always something. It might not have been a big thing, but there was always something. And I thought that was really interesting. Now, their intentions towards Amelia, I think, because she's betrothed to Wrath, but then got this contract with Pride. Pride is trying to see how far Wrath will allow him to get within the realm of his little contract, because he does still have some power there because she has signed her soul to him, but she still got to marry the big kahuna. So it's going to be very interesting because Pride can't really do nothing. He can't really do nothing, but he's still going to continuously test it and see how far he can get. And I'm wondering, just like he's trying to see how far he can get, I'm wondering how far Wrath will allow him to get before he gets physical. Because Wrath is getting pretty sick of him. And I yield. Oh, Mom has a question.
We at the end of our meeting time, based on the little thing that just popped up. I just want y'all to know.
It's fine. I just gotta answer my little funky question, and then we can share our final thoughts and be up out of here. I picked let's see, we did Trust and Deception, Roll of the Chrome, and Wrath and Pride. I'm gonna do True Identity and Power. Amelia's journey seems to be leading to a revelation that she may be more powerful and ancient than she believed. How does this theme of hidden power connect with the earlier books in the series, and what might it symbolize? Mom, go ahead and go on mute. You got some echo in the back. Thank you. How does this theme of hidden power connect with earlier books in the series? So there's only one book prior to this. And I think the reason I'm so emotionally spent is because I'm not seeing any connection. I'm not seeing any symbolism. I'm seeing that we have just come to the realization that she is not who she thinks she is, that there is another identity that's been hidden from her, either by magic or by something else, that we don't know what it is. We don't know who she is. She don't know who she is. Hell, at this point, she could be Lilith for all I care. She could be another demon and don't know it. But what we do know is that she is not the first witch as she spiraled and thought she was, because that is the crone did confirm that for her. But what the crone did not answer that she asked her was like, have we met before? And she immediately asked her something else, like, did you have something to drink? Like, it was just very interesting to me. So no, we know she been here before. She's been in the underworld before. We know that she and Wrath or Samael have some kind of history. We know that she has powers that were hidden from her as a child, with the devil's horns, amulets, wings, whatever the hell, the cornichellos, whatever we gonna call them. They were suppressing her power. If anything, I would say that suppression of power might symbolize just the overall theme of these two books thus far: secrets. Everything is covered in secrets. Everything is hush hush. Everything swept under the rug. And just how powerful secrets can be. And with that, I yield. Cam.
Okay, I really like this question. And you said you didn't see a connection between the hidden power concept in both the books. I kind of did though.
Do share. Go ahead.
Because although, like, yes, her power is hidden here in a couple different ways, like literally, mentally, because her memories are gone and all of that. But in the first book, she wasn't the one who hid her power. It was Nona, because the cornicello was how they controlled it. So what if the cornicello was suppressing the power, and why she doesn't have any memories of anything in the first book? Because it wasn't until she lost the cornicello that all of this other stuff started to come up. So it wasn't that she hid it, it was that her family hid it from her. And Nona spent the whole first book lying through her teeth about everything related to these girls.
So now I'm at the point where I just want the truth. I just want to know why.
Big same.
And much like, again, I'm so emotionally spent about this because you want to talk about symbolism? Let's talk about some symbolism and how the whole crux of power being held behind secrets has affected us, not only as women, but as women of color and as believers in Christ. Because let's go here. Ain't no mention of Samael in the Bible. So if we're talking about secrecy and a holding back of power, there's books in the Bible that have not even made it to the King James Version, but are still documented as canon elsewhere. So if we're talking about withholding information and the power that would be accessed, because see, the application of knowledge is power. And I think that's why I'm so pissed off at this point of the book, because all of this information has been withheld from her purely for no other reason than to suppress her power. And what do they do in communities of people who are very much at risk of being the most powerful? They suppress what they know. And we have seen it in history amongst people of color, amongst women. Because as women, we had a right to learn how to read for I don't know how long. And hell, for people of color, definitely long after that. So, yeah, I'm a little pissed. Just a taint. Just a skosh.
I can tell, but I also think that when you have a series like this, the covers of the books mean a lot in terms of how the story is going to go. And we started off very dainty, like pretty gold flowers, shiny little snake. Then we moved into some gate skull with a crown on her head, pretty blue flowers. We're kind of coming into ourselves. Then we get to this last cover.
Hold on. First of all, since we talking about Samael, the ruler of hell, the devil, is it not no coincidence that we got a snake on here? You know, the embodiment of temptation, aka Adam and Eve, and like, of course, he was not the snake, but he kind of rode the snake as a vehicle in that particular.
I think he was the snake though, because she made mention towards the end when she like realized he was who he was, and she said something about so you were the snake in the garden and all of this other stuff, and I was like, oh well, there's the snake from the first book. I just think it's very interesting that we go from this kind of dainty, we're still coming into ourselves type of cover to this we know what we about and it's finna get real cover, because the flowers have now darkened. Like the overall theme here is a lot darker than it has been thus far, and even down to behind the words, we've gone from smooth on all accounts to just straight up thorns. So something is about to go down. Even her crown has changed. She's gone from this little pretty princess crown to I'm about to whoop some behind and give out some real hard rules crown.
And maybe the crown is broken if you look closely.
Mm-hmm. So I think she finna shake some boots over here. And
She finna shake some boots and break up some stuff, because I'm pretty sure she's broken, because the true reality and the true identity of who she is coming to play, like the crown told her up front. You gotta find out who you are. You gotta find out who you are to know about your sister.
Well, now that we've like inched on into the what you call it, the conclusions, predictions, reflections portion. Any other takes that y'all would like to share? Because yes, I agree with your assessment of all of this, Cam. We definitely it's hitting the fan. It's giving the Harry Potter movies after movie 5. It's Harry Potter from here on out.
I did have a theory, and I'm trying to remember what it was because it was really good. Because it started off as a question when we were talking about the first part of the book.
It's a theory. Okay. Well, Mom, Glenna, do you guys have any predictions or conclusions or theories as well that you would like to share?
Not at the moment.
Mom?
You're on mute, Mom.
For example, the name of the park I like to walk.
My theory turned into reality because I said, after she agreed to release herself unto him, I said, I don't believe it. I'm just outdone. She finally came to her mind and said, okay, let me go ahead and get something for myself. And I said, really? So as descriptive this is, I want to hear about it. I want to read it. Plus, we got all these other unanswered questions. You got a sister that's not unalive. I mean, that's alive and not dead. And I'm just like, okay, what happened? Cause Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
You out here staying alive. Staying alive.
So yeah. Okay, anyway. Now that I got that out of my system. So yeah, Lucy got some splaining to do. Victoria, she all nonchalant and stuff. So I'm like, forget all this. I ain't even speculating. I ain't thinking about it. I want to know what the hell happened. So I picked up the book. And I'm going to say, all I'm going to say is, I love Carrie's descriptiveness. I said that before.
You've already started the third.
Baby, I said it'll be a reread if we ever get to it. Because I feel like I started in, and I didn't go that far because I said, maybe. Just maybe.
Remember.
So the first 5, well, I'm on 5 now. So the first few chapters was a hum and a dinger. I just want y'all to know. So I'm debating on how slow I'm gonna take this, just in case we get to this on not this, since we ain't doing it this month, maybe next month. Since I got to wait a month to put it back on the list. I'm just saying.
Okay, so my only conclusions here, as y'all know, I just want the truth.
That's what I was going for.
My predictions. I'm not sure, but I'm curious to know who Amelia actually is. And what role her twin and her had to play in this big grand scheme. Like, who's really in power here? Because I don't know if it's Samael, Bedevil, Are there like some coven elders that we haven't been introduced to? Nona's people, like what y'all why was it so important that you, Nona, had these little girls wear these horns? Who commissioned you to do that? Right? Like I really want to know what's happening here really. And I think I have a harder time making predictions because I don't have the same knowledge of demon angel lore and fantastical whatnots. But again, this is why I'm probably gonna end up down a rabbit hole and probably not finishing the book in time if we ever do start to read it, because I'm gonna be like, wait, what's that? Okay, hold on. And who that name? Yes, mother, I see your hand raised.
Could Nona be the crone's daughter? I'm just thinking.
It's possible. It's possible. Hell, anything's possible at this point.
Yeah, I just remember what my theory was.
Do tell.
So there's supposed to be one in heaven, one in hell, right? As far as the twins go. And this little prophecy, everything's supposed to balance out.
Mm-hmm.
We all know Victoria was the wild twin. So I'm wondering, because when Amelia activated the mirror, Antonio popped up and was talking to Victoria, and he called her my angel. But we now know that Victoria has orchestrated a lot of BS here in book 2. So I'm wondering if Victoria knew that she was supposed to be the twin to balance out hell, and instead got herself killed, because it's not a sin to be killed, to get into heaven and force Amelia into hell. So everything is balanced, but it is flipped.
Girl.
Oh, I like that. See, I gotta read the 3rd book.
I like that theory. Yes, that would make a lot of sense.
And that's why she's like, I'm just here to help us with the curse, sister. Bull crap. Because I feel like with all the stuff that you was doing, you was supposed to be down here, but you didn't want to be down here. So you made me come down here because you knew that I was going to try to figure out what happened to you.
Girl.
So I too have started the 3rd book.
It's giving us the Jordan, not Jordan Peele, the Lupita Nyong'o movie Us, when that little girl switched places. Oh Lord. Okay, so next month, at some point in the last meeting, the book Apex was mentioned, but this is the 3rd part. The 2nd part is Elite. So we will be reading Elite.
Yes.
Okay, y'all on the same page. Haha, but same page. Book club.
Well, I'm glad you already got it, because you know that's gonna be on my list too. I'm just saying.
Yes, of course. We already know 2 of your choices for the wheel, which is Kingdom of the Fairy and Apex. But yes.
Girl, she still got Oathbound on there. No, she got Blood Marked on there. So she got all 3 of her choices when she come back in September.
Child. That's all I got. Ain't got no more.
If y'all don't start series books unless y'all plan to finish the series. That's all I'm saying.
Ain't none of my picks part of a series. I do stand-alones.
Girl, it don't bother me because I keep reading even if y'all don't want to.
This is true. You would. All right, chillins. Until next time on Family Plot. Same. All right. See y'all next week. Bye.